Entrepreneurial work. Thank you. Got it. Curriculum. I'm Robin Eisen, the Special Programs Manager here at YEI, Yippee Manager, and your host for today. Just a few days ago, I watched the Grammys, and I was really touched by Luke Combs and Tracy Chapman's performance of Fast Cars. That was the song that we were playing when you guys entered today. It truly is an iconic song that most people know once the first couple chords do 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 come on, which I think is great because I really appreciate Luke bringing this song back to the next generation, and I also love the message that it has of belonging and knowing that you can be someone, and sort of that really great positive message. But I also was touched by the way at the end of the song, if you watch the Grammys, Luke kind of did one of these bows to Tracy at the end of the performance, acknowledging how much he had influenced or she had influenced his career. And in a way, slight little way, she was a mentor to him. She really inspired him and made him want to go on and be the songwriter and singer that we all know and love today. So I thought it was pretty fitting to open up our Power Hour for today and today's theme of mentoring and being able to use mentors to help your students move forward with their careers. So I wanted to open it with that, and I wanted to also see if anyone had answered our opening question with what curriculum do you currently use? Haven't seen anyone do that yet, but hopefully later on in today's programming, you will feel free to share some of the things that you use now and even some of the things that you have learned. By the end of today's Power Hour, you will have another tool in your toolbox to help you and your students, and that is one of more mentoring. Just a quick reminder that the information in this Power Hour will be sent to you via an email at the end of the hour and in the next couple of days so that you can relax and feel free just to listen and participate. You don't necessarily need to take notes. You are welcome to, but we will be sending you all the information your way after the end of the program. So I'm going to turn it over to our speakers today. Emily Kilgore is here and Nadia Mullen will be joining us later. They are the co-creators of the Entrepreneurial Pathways curriculum, and they are also the co-founders of Startup Trade Up, and they are going to continue with leading us through their curriculum in today's fourth presentation of the Entrepreneurial curriculum. So Emily, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, thanks, Robin. It is so nice to be back with you guys again to talk with you about Entrepreneurial. I see a lot of names on here I don't know, so I'm assuming that most of you guys are CTE teachers or career and technical education teachers. And I hope that you are. If you're not, and you're just here to learn about how to use just the mentor maps in your classroom, if you teach any other kind of subject, that's totally fine too. This program is designed to be flexible for any grades 10 through 12, high school focused or post-secondary. So if you're CTE specifically focused on how, we're gonna today really focus on how you can use them, but this information is good for any subject. So like Robin said, I'm gonna share a lot of details with you guys today. And then if you wanna look back on this later, it is gonna be recorded and sent out to you. And I'm going to show you how to access all of your materials and even get our onboarding videos. So you guys should have everything you need today when you leave to get started. Now, I know a lot of us are like, well, I'm not getting started on anything new right now. It's February. And as educators all know in this room, that is when we start to gear up for the end of the year, not thinking about starting something new. So if you're looking to adopt this program for this year, it isn't too late. You could certainly get these mentor meetings in this year, but this might be something you really want to consider to focus on starting when you start your school year next year. I would recommend that would probably be the best bet. Though, if you want to go for it now, that's perfectly fine too. Okay, so I'm going to share the screen here. If you could bear with me for 1 second. Okay. All right, so I've been a career and technical education teacher since 2006. And when I started teaching, I didn't have a background like many of you in career and technical education in education. I came from the business and industry, and here I was in a classroom, very new, very fresh. And one way I kind of overcame those challenges of early teaching was to involve a lot of partners from the industry that I was teaching in into my classroom. And this did a couple things. First of all, when this happened, I saw that children could really see themselves differently. I've always believed since those early days of teaching that children can't be what they can't see. So when I brought somebody in from the real world that wasn't, just in education, wasn't something that their parents did, or wasn't a career that they'd had a positive experience with, suddenly this shift in their thinking started where they were starting to see that their path could be different. And so um, I knew that we were kind of onto something. One thing that I also saw was that when the students worked with these people, their skill development really soared. So when we gave them real experiences, skill development soars. And if you're a CTE teacher, you know this, like this is the world that you live in. We live in experience-based learning in the industry that we're teaching. So um, over the course of my career, I've always wanted to somehow capture that and give those tools of what I was teaching to other teachers, and Entrepreneurial Pathways has allowed us to do that. This program was financially supported by the Burton Morgan Foundation and is now we partnered with the Young Entrepreneur Institute, who supports the program and distributes it to all of you. Distributes it to all of you. So when we were working with the Burton Morgan Foundation, one thing that they really wanted us to uncover was how entrepreneurship could be better taught in career and tech ed. If you're a CTE teacher, you know that CTE is on the rise. Like it has never been before, at least not in my career. Students are demanding career and technical education like never before. And I think that has a lot to do with the fact that the kids are smart and savvy, and on to the fact that college is not the only pathway. And college is a very expensive venture for most kids at this point. So coupled with the fact that there is massive job vacancies within the trades and within career and technical education pathways that are really well paid, interesting jobs that young people want to pursue. We also, about 6 years ago, saw Ohio shift into requiring entrepreneurship content standards in CTE pathways. So our program really helps you with that, as well as what you might call employability skills. And that's across every CTE pathway. We all have employability skills that we have to teach. And we look at those through the lens of developing the entrepreneurial mindset. And as the workforce continues to change, we know that no matter what industry you're a part of, the entrepreneurial mindset skills are going to be the most in-demand skills of the future. So as we get started here, like I said, my name is Emily Kilgore. Nadia is in another meeting this afternoon, so she'll jump on here probably in a little bit. So what I'm going to go through with you today is what are the mentor maps, why entrepreneurial learning matters to us, the connection between CTE and entrepreneurship, and then we're going to get into these materials and help you step by step with how you should find mentors, how to access your curriculum materials, how those materials are structured for you, and what key resources you're going to be using, suggestions on how to host your mentor meeting. And then, of course, we're going to answer any questions and show you some options for support and training. Okay. So the first thing I want to say before we get started is all of these materials and resources are available to you at no charge. They were financially supported by the Burton Morgan Foundation and are distributed by the Young Entrepreneur Institute. So as we go through this today, if you have not already accessed your entrepreneur materials, I'm going to show you how to do that. So you can get access to these today if you want to, for no cost to you and your school. Okay, so what are the Entrepreneur mentor maps? They're a turnkey entrepreneurship mentor program that can be embedded into any career and technical education classroom. Now, like I said at the beginning, if you are here and you're teaching any kind of high school program and you want to do mentor maps too, it's totally possible to do that. But we're going to focus today on how career and technical education teachers can use these. When I say turnkey, that means that they include everything you need, all of the program materials, including lesson plans, any kind of activities you're going to do with your students, and all of the guidance you're going to give to your mentors. But that's really the most important part, because throughout my career, as I worked with various different partners, What I would see happen, and one thing I struggled with a lot, you guys might feel the same way, is that I would have people that wanted to come in and work with my students, but I wouldn't really have any structure for that. So I would have people come in and I would have to spend a lot of time creating a plan for them. Okay. Then I would have to do that again with someone new, and that can be very time consuming. I also battled the fact that I had a lot of people who were interested in working with me, but they were very apprehensive to come in to a high school because they don't know what to say to students. If you work with high school students, you know that a lot of people have kind of a negative connotation. So while they're well intentioned, they're very nervous and they would say no because they didn't know what to say and do, and they don't have time on their own to come up with how they're going to work with young people. So it left me in this conundrum of like wanting to work with business partners, constantly needing to recreate that wheel with what that was going to look like, and giving them support that they needed to work effectively with my students. So the Entrepreneur Mentor Maps put all of that together for you. It gives the teacher everything that you're going to do with your students. It gives the students every single thing to do with you and with their mentor. And it gives the mentor every single thing you need to do with the students. Okay. Now, having said that, what I often find happens when am having entrepreneur mentor meetings, and we have seen other teachers using entrepreneur mentor meetings, is just because we have all of that support and structure, what often happens is when the mentors and students get together, that's where the sweet spot is. Because while they have all those supportive tools, a relationship blossoms between them. And you often find that they don't really need all that. It just helps them get there. And then that relationship kind of takes off on its own. I've been working with the Entrepreneur program materials now for 4 years, and the mentor program is absolutely, hands down, my most favorite part of the program. And if you were to ask the entrepreneur students, they would agree that the mentor program is just, it's incredibly special. And hopefully, what you're going to see today is we've made this very easy for you to implement in your own CTE classroom. Okay, so I am probably preaching to the choir here, but why does entrepreneurial learning matter? It's because 40%, 44% of the US economy is made up of small businesses. And if you're teaching CTE or trades, there is such a natural relationship between what is going on in trades, and that leads to entrepreneurship in so many ways. If you just drive around your city, I was driving home this afternoon and I was looking around, and there's an independent restaurant. There is a brake place. There's a tire company. There's a pizza restaurant. There's, a little gas station franchise. All of these are tied back to CTE pathways and their entrepreneurs. So CTE just really lends itself to entrepreneurship in so many different ways. Also, we know that entrepreneurship is growing. As the workforce changes, more and more people have a lower barrier to entry when it comes to selling their ideas, goods, and services. And we're seeing that at record breaking numbers of new business applications as recently as 2022. We're also looking at a really big shift in how we all work with the dawn of AI, and that existing jobs, as they become more automated, we're going to be having students that have been through career and technical education that are going to need the ability to upskill and reskill. And when they have that entrepreneurial mindset and they've had that experience, it's easier for them to do that. Okay, so it's entrepreneurial mindset training is no longer just this nice to have thing that's kind of hidden somewhere in a school as an elective. It is now a must have for every single person entering the workforce, and even those of us that have been in the workforce. Um, and then these are the top 5 demand skills that we're going to be seeing coming up. That's analytical thinking, creative thinking, resilience, flexibility, and agility. And I know in career and technical education, we have lots of different ways that we tackle things like that. The mentor maps are going to give you one tool in your robust toolbox to help you to incorporate these entrepreneurial mindset skills. Okay, specifically, why we targeted CTE with this is, like I said, there's just this natural connection between career and technical education and the community development of entrepreneurship that's happening in our local communities. Also, a lot of you already have meaningful partnerships. career and technical education is really built on that idea of putting students into the workforce. So you might have a need for more meaningful tools and resources to give the partners that you already have. Additionally, your employability skills and entrepreneurial content standards that are in your existing CTE pathway can be met using the Entrepreneurial program materials and the mentor maps. Also, we know that in Ohio, if you're a CTE teacher, last year, Ohio made work-based learning a quality indicator for Perkins legislation. So this mentor program allows you to meet Ohio's work-based learning hour requirements or work towards those hour requirements if you have students that are participating in work-based learning. And my students do this. So now I use my mentor program for part of my work-based learning hours, and it helps meet those quality indicators for the newest version of Perkins funding. Okay, so the biggest thing that I get when we start talking with educators about Entrepreneurial and the partnerships that are found in the program is this all sounds great, but I don't have time or resources to find partners, or in this case, mentors. And honestly, I think that what I hear when those teachers say that is a bit of fear that they don't know what to say or they don't know who to ask. Because I have more mentors, I have more people that want to be mentors than I will ever have children for. When you ask and you explain that I have a program with all the structure, it is very rare someone's going to tell you no. So I think when we work with teachers, the biggest hurdle is just helping them get that ask. Okay. And the first and best place to start with career and technical education is absolutely your advisory committee. So every career and technical education program in the entire state has to have an advisory committee. Some do that better than others, but that is the first place to start. So if you were to send, a quick explanation, and we have all that in here for you of what the program is and that you're looking for mentors to those people, you probably could get what you need pretty quickly. Now, it doesn't have to be your advisory committee, though my advisory committee is all mentors because I really like them to be able to see that role in person. But likely they can connect you with people who are in the industry that could help. And it's just as simple as asking. The other place might be to start with your career and technical student organization that you work with. So that could be Skills USA, DECA, BPA, any of the organizations that you work with. If you contact your local chapter, which you probably are well connected with if you're participating with them actively, they are connected to tons of people that could help you with this as well. Also, professional organizations. A lot of the work that I do with Startup Trade Up is working with professional organizations that want their people to be in the classroom because they're trying to bridge that gap between the future workforce and what they're needing in the future. So they're trying to get students' attention and they're trying to be in the schools to build that pipeline. So if you were to reach out to your professional organizations and say, this is an opportunity for you to meet students in CTE and get to know them and work with them, you would be surprised how many can partner with you. I have also seen a lot of success coming from connecting with your local chamber of commerce. So if you can get in touch with whoever is in that organization that you might be able to find contact information for, they know a plethora of people that could probably be connected to you fairly easily. Same thing with your city or your community's economic development department. I work regularly with our director of development in the city that I'm in because she's constantly looking for resources and support to help build that workforce that's in your community. So that is another really great place to just introduce yourself and start the conversation. So I know it feels really hard, but it's actually when you get the courage to ask and you use our tools to do that, you're going to be surprised at how simple it is. Okay, so let's then look at the materials themselves. So I'm going to give you a deeper understanding today of how you get the materials and what they look like, because it's really actually all very simple for you, but I just want to step you through it. So our program with the Young Entrepreneur Institute is accessing it through YEI. So if you're not already on YEI, then you're gonna just need to go ahead and create an account. And they make everything so simple. So you're just gonna go to the YEI Exchange. I just Google YEI Exchange, or if you go to Young Entrepreneur Institute's website, there's a link there for you. And you're just gonna create your account. Okay, and you can see I did a screenshot here. It's in the upper right-hand corner. Now, I'm not going to walk you through how to create a YEI Exchange account because I'm sure that's something that you guys can figure out on your own. But
Or I can help later.
yes, Robin can help you with that too. But once you have your account, you're just going to log in. So you can see there's my login and you click sign in. Okay, so that's the first step. Then once you're in the main page, what you're going to see is just the search bar. So I recommend that you just type Entrepreneurial in and you're going to see two things pop up. Okay, you're going to see the Entrepreneurial Mentor Maps. That's what we're focusing on today. And then you're going to see the Entrepreneurial Pathways curriculum. Okay, now I'm showing you today how to use the mentor maps. If you want to use the full curriculum, because we have a complete, robust curriculum to do all other types of education with Entrepreneurial, that's also provided at no cost. That is a little bit different. And we have some recorded power hours on how to use that. And you can always reach out to us if you have more questions about that as well. Okay, so you're going to search Entrepreneurial and you're going to access the one that says Entrepreneurial Mentor Maps Curriculum. And if you look there at the screen, that's the first top one. Okay, and you can see this costs you no points. So with the YEI Exchange, it's so cool because you get the points for participating with all of YEI's awesome resources. You build them up. Like I think we're getting points for being here today, and then you can spend them on. But this one, you don't even have to spend your points. So all you have to do is access materials through YEI. Okay, so then once you get there, once you've searched it, it's going to pull this up and it's going to show you the Entrepreneur Mentor Maps curriculum for CTE. And then you're just going to click, it's 0 points. You're just going to click get the product. Okay, that's going to give you some information you need to fill out again. So I'm not going to walk you through that because you can all do that pretty easily. It's going to tell you no points. And then what you're going to get is you're going to get an email that's going to give you shared access to a Google Drive. Okay, so let me say that again. Once you fill this in, you complete your information, you're then going to get an email that's going to show you a shared drive. Okay, so this is my shared drive. So if you have your Google Drive open, over here on the left-hand side, you'll see shared with me. Okay, or you can click the link that comes in the email. And then you're going to find this folder right here that says Entrepreneurial Curricula. Now, if you just accessed it today, it's going to be at the top of your shared with me. It's going to be right there. You can see that this, I had to scroll down because mine was sent on August 4th. So that's where you're going to find all the resources and materials that we're going to talk about today. Okay. If you got lost there somewhere and you have a question, you can drop it into the comments, the chat, and I'm sure Robin can help you with them, or I can respond to you at the end. Okay, so once you open up that Entrepreneurial folder, you're going to see 3 things, and this is where you really want to think, you really want to pay attention. So you're going to see 3 folders in there. One says the Entrepreneurial Guidebooks, one says Resources, and one says Mentor Maps. You're going to open the one that says Mentor Maps. So easy. Okay. Once you're in there, you're going to see a couple things. So you're going to see all the mentor maps right in there. And that gives you everything that's listed. We have 10 different mentor maps you can do with your students. Okay. This is the resource folder. So in the resource folder, I'm going to show you how this works in a second. In the guidebooks or in the mentor maps, if you have a linked resource, I'm going to show you how to find those in there. And then you're also going to see a document that says start here. Okay, so the start here is going to take you to an onboarding video. Now, basically, that onboarding video is exactly what I'm saying right now. So if you get back to your classroom or you pick this up, like in the summer and you're ready to get started, watch the onboarding video because that's just going to take you right to what I'm saying today. Okay. And the onboarding video will tell you at each minute, 3 minutes, how to access your materials. Fourth minute, how to understand your materials, and then some suggestions for implementation at the end. And then that's what the onboarding website will look like. So just click play and you can watch that if you need to. Okay, so now that we have seen how to access materials, let's get into the turnkey structure and how to use your resources. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about are the topics that we are going to use in our program. Okay, give this a second to load. Okay, so there's that start here folder, and then you're going to do them in order. So there's your mentor map 1 through 10. The first topic is really an introduction session on how to connect your students to your mentors and help them get to know each other and break that ice and get those conversations going. Then we're going to go through different elements of entrepreneurship and those skills for 10 meetings. Okay, so we're going to talk about business and leadership, entrepreneurship, and how it fits into our larger economy, how to network and build relationships within your CTE pathway, the importance of time management and goal setting, those professional communication skills. And you can see as we're talking about these, you're probably identifying areas of your employability skill content that you know so well that you're teaching in your CTE programs. Then mentor map number 7 is my favorite. It's about self-confidence and the entrepreneurial mindset. Map 8 is actually my second favorite. 7 and 8 are awesome. They're all awesome, but 7 and 8 are my favorites because we're talking about failure and how important failure is and how to use failure in your experiences as a professional to move yourself forward. Then we look quickly at, if you were going to start a business, what feasibility and legal considerations would you want to consider? And then they're going to talk about a business roadmap, meaning like what would be the path to starting something in your CTE pathway if they were to do that. Okay, so those are the 10 topic areas. Now, we created these topics with the help of a lot of entrepreneurs representing lots of pathways in Ohio's career and technical education. When we started EntrepreNew, we sat with them, we talked to those entrepreneurs, and we said to them, if you could have these things in your pathway, what would you want to learn? And from that information, we were able to drill down to these topics and skills of what entrepreneurs need to learn and talk about well before they enter into that pathway. Okay. Now, we know that not every student is going to be an entrepreneur, and that's not the goal with this. Okay, the goal is to help your students develop those employability skills that we call power skills, get your students connected to people in the real industry, and take a look at how entrepreneurship could be a viable path for them in their pathway in the future. Okay, so let's go on to the next thing then. So once you have accessed your materials, you see your topics, then you're going to open up your individual mentor maps. And I want to show you this. This is the meat and potatoes of what you as the teacher are going to be using that makes this program so simple. Okay, so if you scroll down, this is loading slowly. Bear with me for a second.
It always does for some reason when we're on Zoom.
Here we go. Yeah. Okay.
That was way quicker than mine. Good.
Oh, there we go. Okay. So each mentor map is structured the same way. So you're going to have the cover and then you're going to have, your table of contents. Okay. And then this is what it looks like. Now, we recommend that you spend 3 class periods for each mentor meeting. Now, you can trim that down or you can extend it. But with my program, what I see really well is we have 1 day of preparation, or when I say day, I mean like 45 minutes of class time is about all you need for each of these days that I'm talking about here. So I do 1 45-minute class period of preparation. You have one about 45 minutes, sometime an hour mentor meeting. And then you have 1 45-minute session for follow-up. Okay, and that allows you to really use the materials to your best. Okay, so you can see in each one, we're connecting it to the key concepts of those power skills, which you might be calling your entrepreneurial content standards or your employability content standards, okay? And you can see here, these are connected to confidence statements with how students can feel confident with each of these abilities. It shows you what the outcomes you can expect for each guidebook, and then what resources you're going to be using. Okay, and then optional resources. All right, and I'll come back to resources in just a second. Now, this is where I was telling you we have your lesson plan. So everything in the mentor map is for you, the teacher. Okay, so this is going to show you exactly what to do and say with your students. Those recommended pacing I just talked about. And then how to implement. And then what you should do on day 1, what you should do on day 2, and what you should do on day 3. Okay. So it gives you step-by-step guidance as the teacher of what you should be doing with your students. Okay, so that's how the mentor maps look. Now let me show you some of the resources. So in that mentor map, I just told you that you were going to be needing several different resources for this. Okay, so if you look here, each lesson plan has required resources, and you can see they're numbered. So this one requires number 10, the mentor's leadership grid, number 11, the student's leadership grid, as well as optional resources, which is 12, your mentor map 2 slide. So when you go into your resources folder, you'll see that every resource we have is numbered. So you're just going to scroll down and you're going to say, oh, I needed 10, 11, and possibly 12. So I'm going to go down and I'm going to say, oh, well, here we go. Here's 10, 11, and 12. Okay, so let's look at 10. Now this topic for this particular lesson is on business and leadership. So these are the discussion prompts that you're going to send to your mentors in advance so that they know exactly what topics to be discussing with your students during their meeting. Okay, so I just craft a quick email to all of my mentors and I say, looking forward to meeting with you guys next week. Our topic is business and leadership. Here are the discussion prompts that you'll be doing with your student that day. Okay, and it asks them to think about an example of a time they've done each of these things. Okay, so they can come prepared. Now, like I said, most of my mentors do not walk in here with this fully filled out, but it is nice for them to see these are the topics that my students are going to be asking me about so that they're not caught off guard and they don't have to come up with anything on their own. Okay. Okay, so all right, so that's 10. Now I'm going to look at 11. So now I'm giving my students the same iteration of the discussion. Okay, so we're talking about leadership, and I'm asking my students the day before to provide an example of each of the times they've done these things. And then they take this to the mentor meeting completed. And during that mentor meeting, they talk about each of these things. So what the goal with this particular lesson is, or meeting is that your students hopefully see that some of these experiences that they have had, for example, with problem solving or resolving conflict, that their mentor may have had something similar as well. Okay, so my students bring this prepared and filled in, and then they lead the conversation on these topics with their mentor. Okay, and it gives everybody a nice, clean resource for the discussion to happen. Now, keep in mind, I don't force my students to only talk about this. I let this conversation naturally go where it needs to go, because what the magic of the Entrepreneur Mentor Maps lies in the fact that once these people start to get to know each other, the conversation usually veers off in a direction that that student particularly needs. And that's where the impact is made. That's where they start changing their mindset about their future. That's where they start seeing different possibilities. So I don't micromanage what is actually happening with those conversations. My students are fully prepared. And the mentors have the resources and they do talk about it, but I tend to find that it often goes into one particular direction, or they'll spend a lot of time talking about one particular thing rather than going through all of this stuff. And that's totally okay. All right. The next thing you have, and this is the optional. So we also provide a slide presentation for each mentor map. So if you are looking at your resource and it tells you to review the slide presentation with your students, you will see that you get something like this. Now, this is a relatively brief, quick slideshow where you can use this visual to help your students talk about what's going to happen in their meeting, what are the skills we're discussing, questions for your post-meeting reflection that happens in day 3, and just a general nice fully developed tool for you to use with your students after the meeting. And this allows them to bring back what they've talked about with their mentor to your classroom. And you then have the opportunity to create a classroom conversation or to tie it back to what's going on in your CTE class. So this is a way for you to really think about how to take what just happened with the mentor and summarize it and pull it back in. Okay. All right, so that's the resources, and you'll see with each one, I'm sorry, let me go back into the mentor map. It's only 2 or 3 things that you need, and they all live in that resource folder. Okay, so you're probably wondering, well, Emily, if we only need 2 or 3 resources, why does this folder have 150 resources in it? And that's because this is also the resource folder for the entire Entrepreneurial Pathways. So if you're looking in here for your mentor map stuff, you're like, ooh, what's this? What's the contact networking partner list? What's creating a problem solving? You can also access all of that as well using our guidebooks, and these are the resources. It's all available to you at no cost for your classroom or school. Okay. All right. So, Robin, do we have any questions? Do I need to stop for a second?
We have one that just came in. It says, can you share more about the grid?
The grid.
The grid that you were just going over for the
Sure. Yeah.
I believe it was, yeah.
That was me. I can ask more. Where are these topics coming from? Can you share a little bit more about that?
The topics that are found here in this grid.
Yeah, is this the homework for the students? Is it pre-work for the mentor? Is it both?
Okay, so in this particular, I'm showing you one example. Not every single mentor map has a grid like this. Some of them look really different. Some of them are just discussion starters. Some are an activity that the students will do. The one I'm showing you right now is this grid. So what I do, and this is explained in the mentor maps. So you're going to do it, if you do it the way it's written out, this is the way I do it. The day before, I talk with my students about the mentor meeting. We go through what the topic is. They sit and they fill this out. So when is a time they have had to lead by example, had to ask for help, had to embrace change, had to solve a problem. So my students come to that meeting with that fully filled in. Okay. I also send the mentor this. So you can see in this case, theirs is exactly the same as the student guide. Now, my mentors typically don't come with these filled in, but they look at it in advance. So they know that today's topic, we're going to talk about these things so that they're not caught off guard. And it actually makes them feel really secure to come in and know that they have, these are the topics we're going to talk about. I don't have to come up with anything. And I can, if I want to fill this in and have a talking points on hand, I can. Okay.
So this is building rapport. This is this session 1 or this guidebook 1 is really just building rapport, common experience. When did you struggle with embracing change? Here's when I struggled with embracing change.
Sure. So when you look at your topics, you'll see that the first 2 are really helping the relationship get started. As you move into mentor maps, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, they become a little more focused specifically on particular power skills or employability skills that you are going to work through with your students. Okay, so this is just one example of what your students are going to do in advance and what your mentor will come prepared with.
Do any of them focus on the different CTE topics? Or is that just sort of the umbrella that they know they're talking about? If it's an automotive.
So these are meant to be general enough for you to use with any CTE program. We did not make them specific to one CTE program or whatever we're at with, Ohio CTE pathways, because what we know is that these mindset skills, the entrepreneurial mindset skills, are common across any CTE industry. So this is going to be looked at through the lens of entrepreneurship and that mindset rather than the specific business.
Thank you.
Okay, is there any more questions? Okay. All right, so hosting your meetings. We'll talk about that for a second. I have done this multiple different ways. So I'm going to say the first and best way to do this is to have meetings in person. If you can do that, that's my recommendation. There's something, as we all know, we've lived through what now 4 years of Zoom world. This is our new normal, that there's a better connection with people when you can be in person. So the way that I do that is I set aside one day for the mentor meeting, and the mentors get all of that information in advance. I'll show you those tools in a second because you can set your dates in advance. And that is the day the mentors have on their calendar, and they come and they meet with me and my students. So they sit in my classroom. They sit together either at a desk or a table with their student, and they talk about their topics. Now, there are benefits to having virtual meeting options because I have mentors now in several different states that are not Ohio. I have one in Los Angeles, and I have one in Sarasota, and I have one in New York. So those people cannot be here to meet with my students in person, so they meet on Google Meet. So while the rest of the class is having their in-person meeting, I've started Google Meets for the people that are meeting online. So you can do a hybrid approach, okay? Or now, some of us have a lot of challenges with bringing people into our schools. That is, safety is, of utmost importance with all the Entrepreneurial materials. So if you have to have a virtual meeting, then you could do that using Zoom breakout rooms, Google breakout rooms, or, if you had to, you could do individual Google Meet links for your different students. That is a trickier way to do it, but it's possible. My first year of teaching Entrepreneur, that was 2020, the fall of 2020. So we had virtual meetings almost the entire year. So I don't know that I need to explain how to do that to you guys because everybody's a little different. But if you do want some support on how to do virtual meetings, I'd be happy to help you with that. Okay, before we get to questions, I want to show you guys a few other quick resources that I think are going to help you a lot. So if you go into your resources, bear with me for 1 second. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, here's the first thing that's in here that you might want to look at. This is an outline of everything that's in the materials for you. So if you just want like a quick at a glance of what's going to be in each of these mentor maps, or if you wanted to share this information with your administrators, this is a good thing to give them because it shows you each mentor topic, and then the synopsis. Okay, so you are welcome to use that. I also like to give this to new mentors that I'm working with, so it gives them an understanding of what they're going to be doing with my students. So that's one tool and a resource that's really helpful when creating your mentor program. I'm sorry I have to keep scrolling. I just want to show you these. Give me 1 second. Just go to the bottom. Okay, the other thing that we have is to help you create your mentor program. This is your guide on how to do that. Okay, so this is resource 4, and don't worry, all of these are linked and shown to you by number in your mentor map lesson plan, so you don't have to remember this. This is all explained to you. So this is something that I use when I'm seeking mentors. I give this to them so they understand information, and this is details for you on how to create this. Okay, so this is why they were developed, our topics, the instructions, your meeting options that we just talked about, some suggestions on how to implement a successful program. A lot of things we talked about today are in here. Okay, so those are this is your complete guide for everything that I've said and not said for you to read through as you're starting your program. Okay, and then I sent this out to my mentors at the beginning. So as we get started in a school year, I go ahead and I look forward and I plan the dates. And honestly, it doesn't matter. You could do these, you could do your meetings like 10 weeks in a row and do them all right away. You could smash them into a semester. You could space them out throughout the whole year. It doesn't matter. You can talk about these topics anytime that makes sense for your schedule and your CTE classroom. So this is an edit. All of these documents are Google Docs that you can edit. Okay, so what I do is I go in and I pick my dates based on what I want, put all my dates in there, and then I send this to my mentors in advance. Okay, this gives them everything they need to see, what they should be prepared for before the mentor meetings, what they should expect from their students, what they should expect from you. And then it's asking them to think about, these are the things we're asking you to agree to. Okay, and then you can put in your location information here as well. So if you're meeting in person, you want to put your school address and all that kind of stuff. Okay, or if you're doing virtual meetings, this would be a good place for you to share their links. And then I just share this out as a Google Doc and say, hey, mentors, thanks for being a Entrepreneur mentor for this school year. Here's all of our dates. I also do follow them up with calendar invites just because people like that and they don't have to put in their own calendars. But this is a tool that you can actually physically send out to your mentors. Okay, and then one of the most important parts of the Entrepreneur Mentor Maps is this document here. So I know that as educators, we often face like goofy students or students that aren't paying attention or students that don't have buy-in. And what is awesome about this is this kind of rights that ship a lot. If you put the kids in this situation, they tend to do better behavior-wise and with their antics and stuff. So I go through this with my students in advance. I give this to their parents in advance so that they're aware. And then the mentor gets a copy too. So this is in lesson Mentor Map 1. So again, you don't have to remember all this. It's in those guides for you. But I review what are my expectations for my students. Like, this is an opportunity for you. We're going to behave. We're going to follow these expectations and guidelines. And then I assure them that these are the things I'm going to do to make this program successful for them. And the mentor can see that too. These are things I'm doing for you. These are the parents' responsibilities. So your parents, you can have your parents sign this. And then the mentor, what you're asking your mentors to commit to. Okay. Now, this is a contract, like any other student-parent contract you guys might have. You can use this and ask your student, parent, mentor, and you to sign it. Some people like that. Some people like, that's a bridge too far. I don't need all that. But I do feel that this gives you a tool to have everybody kind of on the same page about what's going to happen in the program. Okay. Now, one last thing before we get into any other questions and how to get support. Every school is different when it comes to safety and regulations on guests with students. And at Entrepreneur, we really think safety is the absolute most important thing. So as you're reviewing this, I would involve your administrator on how this looks when it comes to partners working with your students, whether they need to have background checks. You can have virtual meetings. I am able to do that because I remain in the classroom with my mentors and students at all times. So we don't have to do that, but I know that in some schools, those restrictions are very different. So you'll see a lot in Guidebook 1 that we're recommending, like have this conversation with your administrative team about how you need to handle this before you get started. Okay. Okay, so now if you've listened to all this and you're gonna pick this up later, don't forget all of this is in your onboarding video that you can access, that you get when you access your materials. And I also think that Robin's going to be sending this whole power hour out to you guys as well. So you can get this so many different ways. But let's say you want to talk more. So that was cool, but I still have questions because I don't know about you guys, but I hate rewatching videos. I'd rather just talk to someone. So cool. You can email us. You can reach us at Startup Trade Up. I'm sure you can reach out to YEI. They can put you in touch with us too, and we'd be happy to help you with any questions that you have as you begin to get started. Okay, so do you have any questions that I can answer from you today? Because I think we're running low on time.
Yeah, it's a lot of information, really great information. And I love how you make it so easy for the educator, or easy isn't the right word, clear.
Yeah, it's clear. It's honestly, it's made to give you your time back. Because once I started using these and I'm like, I have all these partners, I need to do something with them. Once you use this, it's amazing. It feels hard, but once you do put it in place, you get so much time back because it's all just built for you. And then
It's done.
you can just use it every year because,
Yeah.
the mentors change, the students change, the topics remain the same, but that conversation just continues to evolve every year. So.
It's excellent. Well, thank you so much for sharing your expertise today. Anyone have any questions or comments or have used it and want to review it or offer a testimonial or anything? We have Emily here, so.
I'm going to put my email address too in the chat in case you want to chat with me at some point. I don't like asking questions on Zoom meetings, so there's my
Some people don't. So feel free if you do have questions to reach out to Emily directly or to anyone here at YEI, and we'll be happy to get those answered for you. Okay, I guess there is no other questions. I do have someone who wants to know a little bit more about YIPI, and I will answer that at the end of the conversation, just in about 5 minutes. But for now, I wanted to thank Emily again, and I wanted to turn this over to Eileen Frankel from the Young Entrepreneur Institute, who has just a couple quick announcements.
Thank you, Robin. We can stop sharing now.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out how to do that. Oh, here.
There
you
it's
go.
a long day.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thanks to Emily Kilgore for creating this program, helping us take advantage of using it, and for explaining it so beautifully here today. We at YEI have so many resources in addition to EntrepreNew. And one of the programs happening now is our Young Entrepreneur Pitch Challenge. Forgive my dogs in the background if you can hear them. We have 2 more weeks that the Young Entrepreneur Pitch Challenge is open for entries. If anyone's curious about that, you can reach out to me, to Evan, to Kelly Bigger, or Robin, anyone on the YEI team, and ask a little bit more. We have young entrepreneur market opportunities all throughout the winter. We have opportunities for consulting and learning about other products to help children experience entrepreneurship. We do have an upcoming Power Hour in a couple of weeks. We're focusing on finances, entrepreneurial finances, and always a popular topic and one that benefits from having some helpful tools to break it down and teach in a simple way. Those are my updates. Please come again.
Okay, well, thank you, Eileen. And I'd like to mention that Emily started the Power Hour talking about how to find these products and these resources on YIPI. For coming to today's Power Hour, you receive 100 YIPI points. It is a code, Feb6 Power Hour. Let me put that in the chat here. And in your YIPI, once you register for YIPI, you can redeem this code for 100 extra points. If you are new to YIPI and just registering, you get 500 points to start. This is an extra 100 points. So you have 600 points to begin with. That's like $600 worth of grants that you can go shopping on the YIPI marketplace for any of the resources, including the entrepreneur resource, as well as the startup trade up resource that was talked about today. And again, that's just going to YIPI Exchange. I'm going to put that in the, I just put that in the box. And all you need to do is register as an educator, and it'll take you through. And then you can go to your wallet and put the code in under the redeem points. And if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer those. Eileen has put, or someone has put, I think it was Eileen, put into the chat a survey we do encourage you to take this quick survey. It really helps us understand what type of programs and services you're looking for these power hours. And we do review every comment and we read every survey. So I really encourage you to let us know the type of information that you're looking for. Lastly, I just want to thank Emily Knight again for her expertise and for her sharing her time today. And just to let everyone know that at YEI, we are in this space of entrepreneurship education every day. And if you have any questions or concerns, or just want to chat about it, don't hesitate to reach out. Anything else anybody else would like to say? We are officially over right at the 5 o'clock mark, but feel free to unmute yourself